Hey, there we are. Just turning down the music, getting started on this live today. And you know what? Let's do it. Let's make it official. I'll open up with my little logo thing. All right, folks, my name is Kurt Von Annen. I had posted up, actually scheduled this live to happen today on a Friday morning. And I said, you know what, let's just do a live WordPress Q&A session. Now, some of you may have seen the announcement and said, oh my goodness, has Kurt lost his mind? What is Kurt trying to do now? It's not that I've lost my mind. It's I'm getting a lot of agency, let's say agency outreach work coming to me lately. Our agency is growing. Things are going really well. But a lot of the potential clients are asking us things that, quite honestly, they don't need us to do. Now, I'm very clear about this. I'm not in business to just do what people need me to do. Like, I don't just do what people can't do themselves. Obviously, they want to focus on what they do best. So if I were a writer, for example, I would be focused on writing my next book, not, building and maintaining my own website. If I were, an automotive repair technician, I would be focused on fixing cars, not building websites and doing social media and things like that. And so I completely recognize why some people reach out to us at the agency level, but there's also a certain level of people that are reaching out and turn that down. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There's a certain level of people that reach out, and they're reaching out because they plan on doing it themselves, but they're still asking for that professional guidance to go the right direction. And that kind of led me to say, hey, you know what? Let's just do this live. Let's answer some questions. And as people begin to sign into the live, I'm going to say, hey, if you've got questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, just go ahead and drop them into the comment section, into the chat. And I'll be here to interact with you, take your questions, and maybe point you in the right direction. Now, there's a couple of things here that I do. One, I focus a lot on learning and membership websites. So people might come to me and say, well, I want to do a WooCommerce store. Well, that's a direct alignment with what we do, right? Because if we're selling courses and we're selling coaching and we're booking people for paid sessions, we're right in the flow of what e-commerce looks like. And so whether you're going to use, WooCommerce, ThriveCart, SureCart, I mean, there's all these tools to talk about how to do e-commerce, but it really comes down to strategy, methodology, and kind of like the cart before the horse thing, right? So it's like, what do you want to have your business represent? Or how do you want your website to best represent your business, your methodologies, your processes, things like that. So outside of WordPress, I do some consulting with Standard Business. For example, I am one of the certification consultants that works with the Marine Retailers Association of America. And so when I talk to businesses about working on the internet and we start to have this consulting conversation, a lot of times what we provide at Mañana No Mas is so much more than building a website. It's, what is your product? What are your processes for building that product? What are your processes from a sales and marketing perspective? How does sales and marketing deal with the after sales division of your company? Is after sales something that you actively support as a company, publicly, visibly? Is it something that you promote? Do you have online training? Ding, 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 right? So when we start to get into the training and the online learning that would happen, that's where Mañana No Mas really comes to shine. And we're really good at curriculum development. So let's say you're a company that makes mountain bikes. I'm only saying that because I recently spoke to a mountain bike manufacturer. But let's say that you manufacture mountain bikes in another country and you want to import those to the United States. Well, the work that Manana No Mas has done previously in automotive, power sports, marine, RV, aviation, that puts us in a really good position to understand the distribution model in the United States, the difference between distributors, right? So think of like Specialized, Trek. Um, oh my goodness, I'm blanking out on Canyon, Ridley. I mean, just think about the brands that are distributors in the United States, and then think about independent bicycle stores, right? And what that dealership network would look like. So now, all of a sudden, instead of just building a website, to introduce this mountain bike to the North American continent, because we would cover Canada, United States, and most likely Mexico, instead of saying, hey, can you build me a website for that? You're actually coming to Manana No Mas, and it's, can you build us the website? Yes. Can you make us the online training for our service personnel? Can you make us the feature and benefit training for our sales division? Can you make us the operation use courses for our customers? Can you help us with a dealer distribution network? Can you make sure that all of the franchise dealers within our network have access to, a branded page for them for our product? Can you, right? And so it becomes a much larger consultative project than, say, just building a website. And so that's kind of the cool part about being an agency, is you run into all of these really cool folks. The other side of the coin is, right here in this little town, there's a family member here in town that has a business cleaning houses. And you go, okay, so what would you do with that? Well, if you have a service industry type business, and you go to people's homes or people's location to provide a service, so lawn care, plumbing, electrical, any of that stuff, just think of any of those things. Sometimes you show up to do the work, and then they go to pick up the kids from school, and you finish the job. Okay, so you want to leave the property, but you can't leave because you haven't collected your check yet. You haven't gotten paid yet. Sometimes there's scheduling issues with getting to people's locations. And so imagine, even though you think of yourself as small business, imagine having a website where you have a menu of services, costs for that menu of services, connected to a booking calendar. And people are able to go into your website and say, is Susie available Tuesday to clean my house, 3 rooms, $175? That could all happen directly on the website with a menu and a calendar kind of combined. So you take that booking calendar and it shows Susie's availabilities, and the customer literally says, I want my house cleaned, March 8th, 3 rooms, $175. Boom, pays the $175. And now that transaction is done. There's nobody to haggle with. There's nobody to argue with. There's nobody to collect from. You're not meeting them at the office to pick up the check they forgot to leave on the counter. None of that. It's prepaid. So now imagine, here we are in this post-COVID arena, and we're trying to do business with people that are kind of scattered. So if we can have people schedule menued services on our booking calendar, they're going to prepay for those services, which means we're going to be able to focus on doing the job rather than being a collector. And so those are some of the things. I got a LinkedIn user says, I need Susie, but we have 4 bedrooms and 175 would be a deal. I guess it depends on where you live. We just moved to Hutchinson, Kansas. And it's like, yeah, for $175, somebody might come and pick up dog poop in your yard in California. But in Hutchinson, Kansas, somebody might come pick up the dog poop in your yard and build you a shed for $175. The unequaled scales in economy of going from one place to another. We've been here for half a year in Kansas, and I still struggle sometimes with things like that. In fact, you might like this story a little bit. And he came through as LinkedIn user, so I don't know who I'm talking to yet. But when we first moved here, we were here for about a month, 6 weeks, something like that. And I took my son to pick up some barbecue at this new barbecue place that we hadn't been to yet. And, we were still used to California economy. So we went to a barbecue place in town, right in Hutchinson, Kansas. And we ordered 4 plates of this, 5 plates of that, blah, blah, blah. Right. So we ordered all this stuff. And the girl behind, hey, it's Adam. Adam Silver? Is it Adam Silver? And so we ordered all this food to go. And the lady looked at me, and she said, well, that'll be, I think it was $38 or something like that. And my son, who's 16, he goes, that's cheap. like really loud and high pitched, like a teenage boy whose voice is cracking. That's cheap. And people looked at us, and I was like, yeah, we're not from around here. So it was pretty crazy. So Adam, you might think I'm kind of crazy jumping on LinkedIn at 9 o'clock in the morning and saying, hey, just ask me anything about WordPress. But I kind of thought it would be good practice because we just got the WordPress meetup Hutchinson approved last month. We did our first meetup virtually. And I did that virtually because I was actually too embarrassed to go to a live location and have nobody show up. So we posted the event, we did a virtual event, and then people actually showed up for it, which was kind of cool. And the community seems to be pretty geared up for this thing. I've got interest from the high school, the teachers at the high school, the community college. There's other web people in town that have agencies and offices and things like that. And I reached out to them, and they seemed interested in getting together too. So pretty stoked to be launching WordPress Meetup Hutchinson, an official chapter in the WordPress Meetup organization. And our first live event is going to be March 12th. I want to make sure I say that right, especially since I'm on camera. Pull up a calendar. Yeah. Pull up a calendar. Look at the date, March 12th. So March 12th will be the first live in-person WordPress meetup in Hutchinson, Kansas. And we are meeting at Sandhills Brewery with Pippin. Pippin Williamson's going to be there. So Pippin has been absolutely phenomenal and gracious and wonderful, as one would expect. But he's a really nice guy. And so he's giving us the use of his brewery, the tap room, to have these meetings. And so super stoked that he's willing to do that for us. All right. What else can we talk about? I was just doing something pretty interesting. I don't know if people would think this is interesting or not, but I have a client who is looking for me to do they want to customize almost every element of this website. And surprise, surprise. I'm more of an implementer. So I'm not really a developer or a coder per se. Like I can kind of fumble around in the inspector and identify things and change things with CSS code and stuff like that. But I started looking at a way to put dates and events on things without having a full-blown the event calendar. So there's a plugin called the event calendar, and it's pretty robust. I mean, it does a calendar and it does a page of events and it does some things, but I was looking for something a little bit simpler than that. And so I came across this thing, and I am going to go ahead and share the screen because I'm a glutton for punishment today. Let's do this thing. Here comes the infinity screen. Boom. And I found this thing called Pi Calendar. Now, I found this, interestingly enough, through another WordPress meetup. I attended a WordPress meetup, and somebody was talking about putting a calendar on stuff. And I was like, well, this is pretty interesting. And so you go in here and you take a look at this, and there's a free version and a pro version. But this does something really interesting that really fits my use case quite well. And so, yeah, there's a little video here that you can play that gives you the details. But let me show you what this actually has done. So what I can do is I'll go into this demo site that I have. This is a demo site that is from Lifter LMS. and I went into the dashboard and I went to courses. And what I was specifically looking for was, sometimes people will have a course, but it's not a course like, it's not meant to be a virtual course, learn at your own pace. It's meant to be a guided course, an instructor led course. And so I go into this edit screen, and what that calendar option did was, here's a normal edit screen. And this is kind of ugly because I was just doing a quick demo for somebody else. But there's access plans so that you can sell the course. So if I wanted to sell the course, I would be able to say, buy my course now, enroll is the button to do it, or buy now, or whatever. And then I could say, it's $150 one time. I could say it's $40 every month. It's, and there's a lot of flexibility in the Lifter LMS access plans. But what I wanted to show you was, see down here where it says calendar on the right-hand side, it added this calendar function so that I could say there's a start date and an end date. So now I'm able to take a course and affix a date to it very simply and easily. And then you say to yourself, well, Kurt, where does that go? So if we take a look at the course is just the course. And this is just gobbledygook, text I put in here to show that you could add spaces and content. And so we don't really see any dates here. I could add a calendar and the dates here if I wanted to. But what I chose to do on this example was, if we go back to the home page, there's a short code through the plugin where you just add the calendar, and down at the bottom of this page, I basically just chucked in a short code, boom, and it says, okay, here it is. Here's the course that we just put together. And so, and this pulls it right up here, right? So that's the name of the course. Here's when it starts. Here's when it ends. Here's the description of the course. It's pulling that from the course page. And if I want to actually go view that course directly, I can just use that link and go right back to the founding page where the calendar was put together. And so I know that this sounds almost overly simple, but this meets my clients' needs very, very well. They have courses. They want to schedule the courses for specific days. I think it's the pro version where you can schedule more than one date per thing, right? Works single day, multi-day, all-day events, recurring events with the pro version, color-coded events with the pro version, and WooCommerce and easy digital download support in the pro version, right? So that would give you the ability to do e-commerce with it. And then it gives you some information about the pro version. And so I just thought this was a really cool tool. I started playing around with this morning and getting ready to show that to a customer when we're done here today. Now, here's one I'm going to give somebody a solid. This is for my friend Adam Silver. He's got runneripsum.com. I think maybe he's looking for, I don't know what he's looking for. He's bored. Let's go here. runneripsum.com. Hopefully I spelled it right. I spelled it wrong. That's the one thing I don't like about working in StreamYard. runneripsum.com. Runner Ipsum. I got it. I spelled Runier, didn't I? Yep, I did. Let's go back. runneripsum.com. Now, this site is a really good example of just simplicity, right? He's got a menu up here, resources and run home. He's got a hero image at the top, a little bit of animation, and then this is, what do you want to do for your options here? You got a menu, right? And, you're writing your lorem ipsum text. And then he's got some items here that link through to a buy on Amazon. And so my friend Adam runs those killer, he's going to have to fix me on this. They're not Iron Man races. They're, what are they called? Dang it, Adam, what do they call them when you run forever and forget that you have anything else to do? So anyway, these are some of the things that he uses when he trains and runs. And he linked these through as affiliates right through the sample website. And so if you like any of these products and you'd like to buy something, go ahead and buy them through Adam's website and get him some mojo on that to help fund his passion to go run around in the woods and the mountains and the things that he does. Ultra marathons. There he goes. There he goes. He says the latest side of the side hustle, right? And how true is that? People ask me all the time. They'll say, "Hey, Kurt, my goodness, what do you even do?" This happens a lot. This happens a lot, like in network meetings and stuff like that. I've published a couple of books. I'm a public speaker. I do these webinars and I do podcasts quite frequently. I work with the MRAA, as I said earlier, as a certification consultant. So I'm basically a instructor-led trainer. At that part of it, I do curriculum development and I run this agency. And so when you see people that run agencies like myself, like Adam, you'll see us, jumping from this project to this project to this project to this project. And you could come away from that and say, "Oh my God, what does this person do? They're all over the place." Or you could look for the similarities or the core elements that drive all those projects and realize that you're really dealing with an expert in certain areas. For instance, my ability to simplify the complicated and to deliver things in a better way really helped me with the things that I do. So whenever I consult with a business, whenever I start talking to them about a possible web project, instantly in my mind, it's like, well, let's process map this thing out. What is your business? What do you do? What is your avatar? Who do you sell to? Who do you want to sell to? How do you represent your business currently? How has it grown this far? What's the speed of growth? And I just start looking at all those things. And when I start going through all those key performance indicators in my mind, just spitting that out to you, you're probably thinking, wow, that sounds kind of complicated. But like you kind of departmentalize these things, these concepts. And then out of the end of that comes, okay, this would be the next step. This would be what to do next. And one of the things that usually ends up happening, no matter what the consultation, is some kind of web project will come out of it. And that's why I thought doing these live WordPress Q&As would be helpful. So the one thing we just showed was adding a calendar. If you're watching this, or if you're watching the replay later and you're like, "Oh man, I wish I would have seen that. I wanted to ask Kurt, how do I reserve a URL?" Hit me up in the comments, or join me the next time I do one of these lives, and we'll run through it. I'll tell you who I recommend to buy URLs through. When you buy a URL, when you buy a domain name, they call that a registrar. So some people would say, go to GoDaddy, go to Namecheap, go to Bluehost, go to, pardon me, go to Cloudflare. And what's weird is, depending on your use case, I might have a different answer for you. For instance, I bought my daughter a domain through Cloudflare, and then we went to put it on a host, but the host didn't recognize Cloudflare for the SSL security. It wanted us to buy a security certificate. And it was kind of a unique situation because Cloudflare had a deal where I couldn't change the name server right away because we had just registered with Cloudflare. And then I can't remember exactly what the situation was, but it was something like I had to wait 6 months before moving the URL. And so when you start thinking in those terms, you're like, well, I'll probably never do that again. Whereas when I bought through Bluehost, I could just move that stuff wherever I wanted. Looks like hover.com for the win comes up with Adam. I'm going to assume that's still Adam coming through, but hover.com is one to check out too. So anyway, people like all the time, well, how do I get my name to be the name of the website? How do I get, and those questions come up. Some people might say, well, how can I try WordPress for free? I don't want to have to pay for this. I don't want to have to buy hosting. And I just want to try I just want to see if I can do it. Well, go to WordPress.com. You can go to WordPress.com, fire up a WordPress website, and you run it right through WordPress.com. WordPress.com it's kind of like a weird way that it works, but there's WordPress.com and WordPress.org. That could be a whole different conversation for another day. But you can go to WordPress.com, fire off a site. It'll probably say, my name is .wordpress.com. But you don't care because you're just trying to get your feet wet, just trying to figure things out. There's other ways to launch quick instances of WordPress as well. InstaWP is a great source for that. You go to InstaWP, fire off a temporary website, and get yourself, working in a direction to become familiar with a tool or something like that. There he goes, InstaWP. Adam brought that one up too. It's really amazing to be able to just. I got into WordPress when you still had to download a zip file and get hosting and get into your folders in the back end with an FTP client and move folders and open things and initiate and all that stuff to set up WordPress. And to talk about it now is like an out-of-body experience. I don't even know. I'll be honest, I don't even know if I could remember all of the steps about installing WordPress in 2004 when I started working with WordPress. But you look at it today, and all of these great hosts that are available have like one-click installs, or if you select the right hosting package, it just comes with a blank WordPress on it. And then you put in there what you want to put on. In fact, I think I have, no, it's not that one. Let me see if it's this one. Yeah. See, I have a lot of demo sites. So let me pull up a demo site that's like almost empty. Let me see. I'll go to. Oh, I'm in the wrong account. That's why. Here we go. Wrong Slack account. I got a ton of Slack channels now too, and Slack's not even my preferred way to go. But when everyone else wants to use it, that's what you got, right? And so let's go down and pick. Is it my community? There we go. And I'll go back into that screen share for you. Yeah, this website's almost empty. Boom, here we go. So this was just a Lifter LMS sandbox that I had thrown together real quick. There is next to nothing going on in this website. So here is the top admin bar, right? So this tells me what the name of the website is. This is a full site editing website, so I can edit the site. Here, you'll see that pop up when we have what's called FSE, or full site editing. And then we can edit the page if we want to. And so if I click on edit site, this is where you're going to see things like how the pages are built. Let's go back. So here's here's archives. We can take a look in there at these menus. And you'll notice this is a brand new website. So there's not much going on here, right? Page width sidebar, full page, full width with no title. And you can see, kind of how we are building things in here. If I want to manage all templates, we can go into the templates and we can see the different templates that are in here. Let's get rid of that. Out of there, out of there. This is the main admin dashboard, right? Some people get intimidated when they see this. Don't be intimidated. If I want to see the website, I just click the link at the top. It takes me back to the website. If I want to go back to the dashboard, I click it again. It's that easy. All the pages for the website, as far as pages go, are right here. So if there's anything that I want to add, I don't know what this Ollie thing is. I must have been doing something for somebody else. Ollie, there we go. So this looks like a contact page for Ollie, right? And super, super simple. Now, if I want to edit this or change this, I just click on edit page. Takes me to an edit screen, and I can click in these areas and change whatever I want. So it's great to chat with you today, right? Let's just say that that's what I wanted to change. And we can go back and take out the period and fix our grammar. We can do that. And then when I click update at the top right, it changes the page, and then I open it up, and there it is, right? That's where we made the change. And so it's easy enough to change these things working in Gutenberg in the full site editor. You can just kind of click on things, change them, move them around. I encourage people to experiment and play and kind of figure out what makes them work. Users is a list of all the people that you gave access to the website. Plugins, those are the tools this really is kind of an empty website. Look in here, we got Ninja Forms, Ollie Dash, right? So we put that in for some reason to check it out or something. And then WP Tribe, that's a community plugin that is pretty new. We're just checking that out and seeing if it works with Lifter LMS. I haven't approved that one yet, so I don't want to get too crazy there. But yeah, this was a real simple website just to try out a couple of tools on. And so you can see we barely have any plugins in here. Tools is where all of your stuff is for import, export, tells you what your site health is, like if you should make any healthy changes, like for making updates, things like that. And then export personal data, erase personal data. Settings is pretty simple. There's one in here that comes up a lot that I'm going to show you guys. So this is the site title, the tagline for the site, what's the URL. So you'll notice I'm building in a sandbox right now, right? But if I was going to change this to abc123.com, this is where I would put that new URL would go in there. Obviously, you have an email as the administrator. And then when people sign up for this website, do I want them default? Do I want everyone to be a subscriber, a contributor, an author, an editor, or an administrator? A common hack is people would hack into your site and make everybody an administrator. That's a nightmare. So normally it's subscriber. And then you pick the time zone where you are. And what I shouldn't say where you are. You should pick the time zone that you want. That sounds better. Pick the time zone that you want. I'm going to pick Chicago. And you'll notice whenever you make any changes, you want to click Save Changes. It really is that easy to do this. And then the one I wanted to show you is permalinks. A lot of the plugins that are out there are going to ask you to use the post name type. But a lot of times what comes up is this plain permalink structure. And what we're talking about with permalinks is, you know how every page inside the website has its own URL, has its own link, right? So this one is, $P = 123, right? So if you wrote a new page, would you want people to search it that way? Would you want people to search it by when it was made? Would you like people to search it as in the number that it was made in, post 100, post 101, post 102? Or would you like people to search it by the post name? And when we're working on dynamic sites like learning sites and membership sites, we tend to want people to go with the post name. And so we'll go ahead and we'll save changes there. Sometimes you'll be working on your website if it's a site that has like a learning management system or e-commerce or something. Sometimes you'll be working on it and things won't come up. You'll get like an error 404 or something like that. You'll get a code. And then a good best practice is just to make sure you have post name selected, resave it, and then go back and check your error problem again and see if it fixed itself, right? Sometimes that'll happen. But cool deal. Let's go back to StreamYard, see what we got going on. Here we go. And the last comment is from Adam there on InstaWP, so that's cool. I put in the banner there at the bottom about the Mañana No Mas podcast. I started out 2024 pretty hot and heavy in January. Did a couple of interviews right out of the chute. And then did I do one? I think I did one in February. And I did like 3 or 4 in January. But here's the deal. If you get a chance, go to the Mañana No Mas podcast. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple. It's almost everywhere. It's got like 14 channels or something that it goes out to. So I think it's on Stitcher. It's on a bunch. Anyway, go to the Mañana No Mas podcast. Give 1 or 2 of the episodes a listen. Obviously, if you like it, follow it. I'd love to have some people actually join the channel. That'd be great. But the other thing there is see if you think you would be a good fit for the podcast. Generally, I like to talk to people that have a story about a launch of some kind. Sometimes we talk about website stuff. Sometimes we just talk about general leadership stuff, business growth, entrepreneur. One that I really like to talk about is, entrepreneurs that are still focused on a sense of well-being or health. That to me is a really big topic. As I got older, I realized I was much bigger than I should be. I used to race motorcycles and I used to bicycle like a disease bicycle. And being young, and, riding bicycles and racing motorcycles, I was able to stay thin. Not thin. I was always kind of thick, but I was able to stay fit. Let's put it that way, right? My percentage of body fat was always kind of in check because of youth and the level of exertion that I put into the things that I did. Like when I ride my bicycle, I don't just kind of tootle around the neighborhood. I ride my bicycle. I mean, I go for it. And I'm still that way today in my 50s. I'm really driven in that way. And so I noticed as I got older and I retired from road racing for the third time, I noticed that I put on weight quickly. Well, I like beer. I like red wine. I like red meat. I like all those things. And I noticed I was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I had to go through a weight loss thing, and I had to get my fitness back, and I had to start, running Spartan races and warrior dashes and things like that. I had to have in my mind, I think I told you, I'm driven by event sequences, right? So I'm not the kind of guy that can just go out and run for the sake of running. No offense there, Adam, but I need to know that I'm running because I'm gearing up for an event on March 15th. Like that's the way my brain works. And so I would sign up for these events. Hey, look at that. My watch just told me to drink some water. Anyway, I would practice for these events, and I would train for these events, especially like the 100-mile bicycle rides. And I would train for these events. And if I had an event every month, I would train every month, and I would train in different ways. So if one event was running, the next one would be biking. Maybe I was going to train for a 50-mile hike. But these were things that I would work towards, and I was able to keep my fitness. And then I noticed, getting ready to escape California and move to Kansas, I reprioritized life so that the move would go more smoothly. And now we're working on finding our forever home, buying a home, growing the agency. So you can imagine there's all of these things competing with that space and time that I require for wellness and health. And so literally this week, I drew a line in the sand. And some of this is inspired by Anil Gupta. Anil Gupta from Multidots is real big on wellness as well. Obviously, Adam's here in the comments. He's big on his wellness and health. Even people like Jonathan Denwood. You might look at Jonathan Denwood and go, well, that's not an athlete. And he won't be upset if I say it. But he's a guy that was I think he was over 300 pounds before. And he dropped the weight for health reasons. He had to drop the weight. And so I'm drawing that line in the sand. And I'm saying, all right, we got to cut back. We got to cut back on the booze. As much as I love booze at night, I got to cut back on the booze. I got to cut back on carbs a little bit, but I got to keep the calories up so I can go out, and walk and hike and bicycle and. I mean, I've got a Planet Fitness account and I go, 3-4 times a week, but that's not burning the fat or getting the metabolism where I need it to be to overcome what I'm taking in. And so, yeah, there's some changes coming, and you'll see that happen over the course of these lives. I'll probably talk about it when we have the open space. But that brings me back to the podcast. If you fit into any of that type of conversation, business, leadership, writing, web work, fitness, health, those kinds of things, I would love to consider having you on the podcast. We should get together, have a quick 15-minute conversation, maybe over a Zoom call, make sure that we have an alignment with each other, and then schedule the recording. Most of the podcasts are, 40 to 50 minutes long. And then I always keep you after the podcast is recorded, just to make sure we don't have to do an edit or take anything out that maybe you said that might get you sued. I'm not looking to get people in trouble, but I am looking to share wisdom and introspection with our listeners. And I'm due to start putting out a couple of more shows. So if you would be interested in being on the podcast, reach out to me. If you're watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, chuck in a comment and I'll see those comments come to me and we can connect and get together there. Or you can go to manananomas.com, manananomas.com, and fill in the contact form and we'll get in touch that way. I'll send you a link that'll get you able to schedule that familiarization call and then one to book the show. All right. We are kind of coming down to the time that we've got set up for the day. In case you don't know, I've got some courses at Manana No Mas. If you'd be interested in seeing the courses that we have available at Mañana No Mas, just go to mañananomas.com. When you start to page down on that page, you'll see courses or memberships available. Feel free to go ahead and take a look in there. We've got some of the courses are free, so you can just go in there and see what that's like. It's like a portfolio piece to let people, see what we build for an e-learning example. So we've got that in there. My goodness. I think we're going to kind of wrap this one up. Oh, there is one more here that I want to put up, and that is the free digital planner and journal that we have at actionleadershipteam.com. I started journaling a few years ago. It might be 5 years ago at this point, because, time really has flown. And I put it off. I thought journaling was stupid. I thought it was a weird way to waste time, when I would see people doing it or hear about people talking about doing it. And then finally, Dan Martell sent me a journal. And Dan Martell is from the SAS Academy. If you don't know who Dan is, he's published a book called Buy Back Your Time. I've read it. I thought it was a life-changing book, actually. I thought it was really good. And I thought, well, if he sent me this stupid journal, I don't want to waste it. I'll go through it for the next 30 days and see how I feel about it after I try it for 30 days. So that's literally how that decision was made. I wasn't pursuing this. It pursued me. And I started doing the journaling. And then when I wrote the book, Action Leadership from the Edge, I was like, wait a minute. How much would it help people if we were able to go and give people a journal, a digital journal, and it could go in the Remarkable tablet. It could go in any one of those, e-ink tablets. They're the ones that look like I use it. I have a Remarkable tablet right here. And, what's cool about these, I'm on a blank page because I thought about doing a screen share, but we haven't had the need to do it today. But, you can just write all over this thing, and it's like paper, and then you can save copies of it. You can undo what you've just done. I love it. Every time I have a meeting now, I take notes in this little tablet, and this little tablet is one of the things that keeps everything on track, right? So I have a calendar in there. I have a journal in there. Let me sign in. Okay, there we go. And if you go to actionleadershipteam.com, actionleadershipteam.com, one of the ways that I think I'm paying it forward is there's a pop-up that comes up in that website right away. It just says download your 2024 free planner and journal. And I encourage you to do that. It's A, it's free. B, it gives you access to 1,234 pages of really good detailed stuff. It gives you a space to plan your day, to plan your month, to review your week, and then a notes page for the day, but then a completely open page that's just for journaling. And so you have an open page every day to journal. And my previous one that I did in 2023 was like in sections. So it was like all the calendar, all the weeks, all the days, all the notes, all the journal pages. And so you had to kind of go back and forth through this digital document to find where you wanted to be. So you had to use a system of tags to kind of take you from one to the other. And while I set up a system that worked for me and it was pretty simple, I could see how it could have been confusing to other folks. And so with this journal for 2024, I reformatted that whole thing. So now you have the month that goes right into the week, that goes right into the days, and each day has a notes page and a journal page. So each day is 3 pages, and then it goes out to the next month, then the week, and then, so it works out really, really good. It's much more intuitive, and you're able to go through the journal like a book rather than having to go back and forth and tab around in it. Not only that, but everything's hyperlinked. So when you're on a page, let's say you want to say, well, what did I do on January 7th? You literally just at the top where the month calendar is, you just push January 7th and it goes to January 7th. And so the whole book is hyperlinked and allows you to go back and forth to and fro and really control what you see there. Now, I don't, just to be clear, I don't use this planner as my calendar. Like, it doesn't run my day. So I still have Microsoft Outlook. I still have Google Calendar. I still have those integrations where those things sync and talk to each other. My emails, set my appointments, things like, I still have that. But here's what I do. Every day I get up, I open my planner and journal. I go to my calendar, my computer. I write down what my day looks like. I take a look at whatever my inspiring word of the day is. Usually I dive into a piece of scripture. I'll read some scripture. I'll meditate on that a little bit, maybe say some prayer. I schedule my day out. I write it down. Once I write it down, it makes it more real for me. And then I kind of write out what my goals for the day are, like just kind of a short list. You know, what are my goals? What are my top 2 or 3 things I really want to make sure I get nailed today? And I do that. And then at the end of the day, I write down my notes and then maybe put an entry into the journal page. It works out really, really well for me. So I can't stress enough. Go to actionleadershipteam.com, get yourself a free copy of the planner and journal. And I would love to see you in there. And there's courses in that site as well. There's some free courses. There's actually a whole series of free course that goes, it's like a sister product to reading the book. So if you got the book Action Leadership Team, not Action Leadership Team, Action Leadership from the Edge. If you got the book Action Leadership from the Edge, you would kind of take these courses and assessments while you're reading the book. It's meant to kind of give you a more expanded view of what the book is talking about. Well, folks, I think that is it for today. I'm going to turn the commercial off at the bottom down there. I'm going to go down to the music, and we're going to turn that music off because I know some people listen to these and they go, oh my God, what's with that music? He needs to turn that off. And with that, I'm going to give you my thank you screen. I'm going to bow out today. Have yourself a great, great, great weekend. You may see me later today. Maybe I'll jump on later today. But have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.